Red Mesa Station glowed under the twin suns of the outer rim. Its walls were lined with silver panels that reflected the soft orange light, making the station look like a beacon floating in the darkness of space. Ships of all sizes hovered near the docks, their engines softly humming as crews moved about, unloading supplies and preparing for the next journey. Among them, Jonas Hale, a skilled salvage pilot, adjusted the straps on his flight harness and scanned the busy docks. He had been traveling for weeks, delivering medical supplies and spare parts to outlying colonies. Jonas was tall, with sharp eyes and steady hands. He had a reputation across the sector as someone brave, clever, and dependable. But no matter how many missions he completed, he never expected that today everything would change. In the corner of the station, a small ore skiff was unloading a precious cargo. Taya K., a young engineer from the Apache Constellary, was supervising the operation. She was calm under pressure, with a steady gaze and hands that seemed to move in perfect rhythm with the machinery. Her nickname, Beauty, came from her luminous radiation scars, a mark of her resilience, not her appearance. As the skiff's crew prepared to offload the last container, a sudden alarm blared. A micrometeorite had struck the hull. Taya noticed the air vent hiss violently. Oxygen was escaping fast, and the vacuum outside threatened to suck her crew away. Jonas, already nearby on a routine inspection, saw the skiff's hull rip open like paper. Without a second thought, he grabbed a tether and launched himself toward the skiff. "Taya!" he shouted, his voice almost lost to the whine of escaping air. She turned just in time to see him fasten the tether to her harness. Then, with a powerful push, he dragged her back into the relative safety of the station's airlock. Sparks flew, alarms screamed, and the hull shuddered under the pressure. Jonas worked quickly, sealing the breach with a portable patch kit. He blacked out from the strain just as the last section clicked into place. When Jonas woke, Taya was kneeling beside him, checking his vitals. "You're alive," she said softly, relief flooding her voice. He managed a weak smile, tired but satisfied. Word of Jonas's heroic act spread quickly. By the time they reached the Constellary Council chamber, a crowd had gathered. The council, composed of elders from several clans of the Apache Constellary, sat in a circular formation, drums softly marking the rhythm of the meeting. An elder rose, his long white hair catching the light. "Jonas Hale," he began, his voice firm yet calm. "You have saved the life of Taya K., our engineer and valued member of the Constellary. By sacred tradition, a lifeguard covenant binds those who save a life to mutual care and protection." The translator device on Jonas's shoulder softly rendered the elder's words into basic English, but when it finished, it gave a shocking translation. "She belongs to him by sacred tradition." A hush fell over the chamber. Jonas's eyes widened. Taya's cheeks flushed with surprise. She stood, her hands raised. "No," Jonas said firmly. "That's not what this means. I saved her life, yes. But she is not anyone's possession. She is her own person." Taya nodded quickly. "Exactly. I choose who I am with. This is wrong." The elders paused. One of them, a woman with a kind face and deep brown eyes, spoke. "The translation you hear is old. Our words carry more meaning than the device can capture. The phrase has been compressed. It does not mean possession. It means a bond of mutual guardianship until a season of safety has passed." Jonas's shoulders relaxed slightly, though the tension in the room remained. Around them, crew members and visitors whispered among themselves. Some were skeptical, others curious. Before anyone could speak further, a new threat appeared. From the edge of the station, corporate claim jumper Vesic Extraction sent a transmission. Their lawyers had broadcast the mistranslation across the sector, calling the Constellary backward and unable to protect their own. Their message was clear. Any confusion would let Vesic claim Red Mesa Station and its resources. Jonas felt a surge of anger. "They're using this mistranslation to take advantage of us," he said. "We can't let them get away with it." Taya pulled up her tablet, scrolling through the historical records of the rite. "The translation layer is wrong. It was recently changed in a popular off-world lexicon. Someone may have tampered with it." Jonas frowned. "Sabotage?" "Possibly," Taya replied. "But we need to prove it before we accuse anyone. Right now, the important thing is to make sure no one misuses the tradition for control." As they spoke, Vesic Extraction's mercenaries approached the station, claiming they had orders to protect Taya as disputed property. Jonas stepped forward, his tone calm but unyielding. "You will not touch her," he said. "She is under the lifeguard covenant. That means I stand as her protector, but it does not give me the right to own her." The mercenaries hesitated. They were trained for intimidation, but Jonas and Taya's calm authority, backed by the constellary elders, gave them pause. The council convened an emergency meeting. The head elder spoke. "Jonas and Taya will be given joint authority to correct the right in a public star trial. Let all who witness the trial see the truth of the lifeguard covenant." Jonas and Taya prepared for the tribunal, knowing it would not be easy. Vesic Extraction had already spread the mistranslation far and wide. Neutral stations and allied crews would hear only part of the story. As the trial began, the station's communication systems experienced strange interference. The translation cores flickered and failed. Words from the elder's speech came out scrambled, sometimes rendering consent as ownership again. Jonas and Taya looked at each other. "We have to show them in another way," Taya said. "We can't rely on the machines. We have to prove it with actions." Using footage from their rescue mission, they demonstrated exactly how Jonas had saved Taya. They showed diagrams of the rite, with notes on how the device misrepresented the original meaning. Then they performed the ceremonial gestures themselves, emphasizing that either person could refuse. The crowd watched closely. Even without the translator, the gestures were clear. Jonas and Taya worked in perfect coordination, showing that the lifeguard covenant was a partnership, not ownership. Some of the mercenaries tried to protest. "This is not valid." The machines say. Taya cut them off. "Machines can make mistakes. Tradition is about understanding, not just words. Look at the actions. Look at the choice." Slowly, the crowd began to nod. Murmurs of agreement grew louder. The mistranslation lost its power when people could see the truth with their own eyes. Just when it seemed they might succeed, an unexpected alarm sounded. The communication blackout had a hidden cause. Someone had been interfering with the station's systems, attempting to block Jonas and Taya from fully proving their case. Jonas clenched his fists. "We'll have to work around it," he said. "We can't let fear or sabotage stop us." Taya smiled slightly, a spark of determination in her eyes. "We're human," she said. "We solve problems that machines and mercenaries cannot. Together." They began to coordinate with allies outside the station, sending handwritten glossaries and visual evidence through small encrypted channels. Miners, medics, and archivists from nearby stations responded, each adding small but crucial information to reinforce the truth of the lifeguard covenant. The constellary elders watched with approval. One of them whispered to another, "These humans, they think differently. They show courage not just in saving life but in protecting understanding." Jonas and Taya continued their demonstration, combining gestures, records, and witness testimonies. Even with the translation system failing, the meaning of mutual consent and guardianship shone through. As the first part of the trial came to an end, Jonas and Taya stood before the crowd. Breathless, tired, but resolute, they had made one thing clear. The lifeguard covenant was not about possession. It was about choice, care, and respect. Outside, the twin suns of the rim station dipped low, casting long shadows over the docks. The mistranslation had been challenged, but the trial was far from over. Jonas and Taya knew that in the next phase, they would have to defend not only the meaning of the tradition but the freedom of everyone who followed it. Yet for now, hope had returned to Red Mesa Station. The bond between Jonas and Taya, formed in the chaos of a life-saving moment, had proven stronger than words or machines. And somewhere in the shadows, the mercenaries of Vesic Extraction retreated, their confidence shaken. As night fell over the station, Jonas looked at Taya. "Whatever happens next," he said softly, "we face it together." Taya nodded, her eyes reflecting the stars above. "Together," she agreed. The council chamber echoed with the quiet murmur of approval. The trial was only beginning, but already the human spirit, clever, brave, and principled, was shining brighter than any mistranslated word. The morning sun bathed Red Mesa Station in a soft golden glow. The twin suns of the rim station reflected off the silver walls, creating a shimmer that danced across the docks. Inside the council chamber, tension was high. Jonas Hale and Taya Kay prepared for the next stage of the star trial. The first part had proven the mistranslation was misleading, but many doubts still lingered among the visiting crews and neutral observers. Vesic extraction had not disappeared entirely. Their mercenaries stood outside the chamber, waiting for any opportunity to disrupt the proceedings. Jonas and Taya knew they could not rely on technology alone. The station's translation cores were still unstable, and any attempt to use them could be sabotaged. "We'll have to show them, not just tell them," Taya said quietly. "Every action, every choice we make must prove what the Covenant truly means." Jonas nodded. "Agreed. We demonstrate consent, guardianship, and partnership. That is the only way they will understand." The council elders called the chamber to order. The circular room fell silent, save for the soft hum of the station's life support systems. Elder Naya, with her deep brown eyes and calm voice, addressed the assembly. "Today," she said, "we continue the star trial. Our goal is to understand the Lifeguard Covenant as it was meant: mutual protection, choice, and respect. Let all witnesses see clearly the meaning of our tradition." Jonas and Taya stepped forward. They had spent the night preparing a demonstration. Using lightweight holographic projectors, they recreated the moment of the rescue. Observers saw Jonas tether himself to Taya, dragging her through the vacuum of space, sealing the breach, and protecting her life at great personal risk. This act, Taya explained, was not about ownership or control. It was about saving a life. That is what binds us temporarily, until safety is assured. It is a bond of guardianship, not possession. The crowd watched closely. Even with imperfect translation, the visuals spoke louder than words. Observers began to murmur among themselves, understanding slowly spreading. Vesic's lead lawyer interrupted from the observation deck. "This is not a valid demonstration. The original translation clearly states..." Elder Naya raised a hand. "Enough. Actions speak louder than mistranslated words. Let us see the truth." To strengthen their point, Jonas and Taya performed the ceremonial gestures themselves. Each movement of the rite was explained carefully. At every step, the audience could see that either participant could refuse. Taya demonstrated revoking consent at the end of a step, and Jonas responded with immediate acknowledgement. "This is the true covenant," Jonas said. "Mutual, temporary, revocable. It is a promise, not a claim." Some of the mercenaries tried to protest, but the elders' authority held them back. Meanwhile, allies from nearby stations began transmitting evidence. Miners, medics, and archivists sent short clips showing previous Lifeguard covenants in action. Each clip was small, but collectively, they created a mosaic of understanding, proving the tradition had always been about mutual consent. Taya smiled as she watched the network of allies respond. "Humans are amazing," she whispered. "Even when machines fail, we find a way to communicate truth." Jonas grinned. "And that is exactly why I respect our people. Courage and cleverness together can overcome almost anything." But the trial was not over. Vesic Extraction tried one last tactic. Their lead mercenary stepped forward, demanding that Taya be secured under corporate authority. He gestured toward her with an air of command, expecting compliance. Taya's gaze met his, steady and unwavering. "You have no right," she said firmly. "The Lifeguard Covenant is not yours to manipulate. It is our choice, our understanding, our responsibility." Jonas moved beside her, placing a hand on the floor for support. "We do not fight with weapons. We fight with clarity, proof, and courage. You cannot intimidate truth." The chamber erupted in murmurs. Observers began discussing among themselves the difference between coercion and genuine protection. Slowly, the mercenaries realized that their threat had lost its power. The truth of the covenant, backed by evidence and witness testimony, could not be overturned by force. To finalize their case, Jonas and Taya presented the charter patch, a digital document created overnight. It included verified translations of the rite, annotations of consent requirements, and a cryptographic signature from multiple elders and allies. The document could be read even on basic devices, and it clearly stated that all Lifeguard covenants required explicit agreement from both parties. Elder Naya examined the charter patch carefully. Her eyes shone with pride. "This is remarkable," she said. "It preserves tradition, honors consent, and protects our people from misinterpretation. Let it be adopted as law across all constellary stations." The crowd cheered quietly. Even some of the mercenaries lowered their heads, realizing that their plans had failed. Vesic extraction had tried to manipulate tradition for gain, but the collective courage and ingenuity of humans had protected the Covenant's meaning. Jonas and Taya shared a glance. The tension that had built over days finally eased. They had proven that tradition and consent could coexist, and that humans could navigate complex challenges without violence. Outside the chamber, the twin suns were higher in the sky. Red Mesa Station seemed brighter, almost alive with the energy of triumph and relief. The mistranslation that had caused confusion and fear was corrected, and the Lifeguard Covenant's true meaning was clear to all. Jonas spoke softly to Taya as they walked through the docks. "You know, I never expected that saving a life would involve this much politics." Taya laughed, a sound like bells in the warm morning air. "Neither did I. But it reminds me that being human is more than courage in a crisis. It is also clarity, honesty, and respect for each other." They passed the holographic displays showing the repaired translation and the charter patch. Visitors from nearby colonies paused to read, nodding in approval. Some even left small tokens of appreciation, marking the importance of clear communication and consent. Vesic extraction withdrew quietly, realizing that the sector would not tolerate their attempts at manipulation. Their reputation was tarnished, while Red Mesa Station's reputation soared. It had become a hub for fair governance, careful translation, and human ingenuity. Back in the council chamber, Elder Naya addressed Jonas and Taya. "Your courage saved not only life, but understanding. You have honored our traditions while protecting choice. That is the essence of humanity we cherish." Taya smiled warmly. "We only did what anyone should do. Protect life, respect choice, and help others see the truth," Jonas added, "and sometimes it takes teamwork, human ingenuity, patience, and determination to make sure truth wins." The council nodded. They understood that this moment would be remembered for generations. The Lifeguard Covenant, once misrepresented, now stood clear, a symbol of mutual guardianship, consent, and respect. As the day ended, the station's lights reflected softly off the silver walls. Jonas and Taya stood side by side, looking at the stars beyond. They had faced misunderstanding, sabotage, and corporate greed, and emerged victorious without compromising their values. Taya turned to Jonas. "Whatever comes next, we face it together." Jonas smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Together," he agreed. And for the first time in days, the station was calm. The twin suns set slowly, casting long, peaceful shadows. Red Mesa Station had survived, not through force, but through courage, cleverness, and respect. Humans had shown that even in the farthest reaches of space, understanding and choice were stronger than mistranslation or fear. The plaque at the airlock glimmered in the sunlight. "No one belongs to anyone. We belong with each other by choice." And with those words shining brightly, Part 2 came to a satisfying close, leaving Red Mesa Station as a beacon of wisdom, human ingenuity, and mutual respect across the stars.